William and Harry reunited to unveil the statue of Lady Di in what could have been her 60th birthday, and their body language reveals solid details about the current state of the relationship. Welcome back, my body language buddies. My name is Jesus Enrique Rosas. I'm the body language guy, and it will be great if you join us by just subscribing and hitting that bell. Let's get down to it. The first thing you notice in the first 10 seconds of the video is that even both brothers are smiling. They show some pacifying gestures. These are signals that reveal being nervous or upset in any given situation. For example, right at the very first second, we can see Harry touching and maybe twisting his wedding ring, which is a very common pacifier. Another subtle gesture of not being that comfortable is the way William adjusts his jacket with two fingers while Harry touches the tip of his tie, both at the same time. When you read the body language of two or more people, try to spot if there are any signals of synchronization between them. And this is regardless their emotions. They could be happy, nervous, or even angry with each other. If you spot synchronized gestures, then there's still some empathy between them. But Harry is the one that displays the strongest signals of not being that comfortable when he covers his belly with his right hand. That is a defensive gesture, and at the same time he lets William take the lead by a few steps. That's the first signal in this video of the attitude from Harry to William. Even so, Harry displays a nice attitude towards his brother and shows full smiles when looking at him from behind. Another body language clue from Harry that is very useful when you're reading people is the way he hides his thumb behind his tie. Our thumbs represent our ego, and hiding them mean that we want to be kind of invisible at the time. So far, Harry shows that he's not that comfortable being there. Here's a very good example of synchronization when both brothers are meeting their aunts at the garden. It's really easy to miss, but if we watch in slow motion, you can clearly see that for 2 or 3 seconds their movements match perfectly, not only in posture but also in speed and angle. That's what I'm talking about when I suggest you should keep your eyes open for this kind of coincidences. It always means a bond between two people. One thing that I noticed about Harry is that at more than one moment he was standing with his elbows out. You might think that's a posture of dominance or power, and it is, but since you can't define the meaning of any gesture without the context, it's important to spot the dynamics between the three men at this point. William is talking to the assistant and Harry is standing looking at William. That's a common attitude between brothers. The firstborn involved with details, with responsibility, and the younger is trying to get his attention, not just by his posture, elbows out, but also searching for his eyes. That's just regular attitude between two brothers and their age differences. Now, if you watch the entire video, you'll notice that William almost never looks directly at Harry. That is, unless Harry does really open hand gestures to draw his attention. Now, watch the moment of the unveiling itself. Notice that William stays up front to the statue with his hands and elbows close to his body. Harry does a classic younger brother gesture that is looking for his big brother's reaction. That is also a common trait. Younger brothers grow up mimicking their older siblings, so they have a clue on how to react to any situation. Now, Harry tries to draw William's attention again, walking towards him, talking and using hand gestures, but William barely acknowledges Harry's intentions. That's the moment when Lady Sarah, their aunt, steps in and goes close to William. I'd like to know if you can help me decipher this gesture from Lady Sarah, stepping in between the two brothers and staying close to William. I'd be glad to read you in the comments. Anyway, I think that Harry's attitude right after unveiling the statue was not the most adequate, since he didn't take even 5 seconds to take a good look at it. But if you've seen my previous videos on the royal family, and especially the one about the documentary with Oprah, The Me That You Can See, you would know that the subject of his mother is still an open wound for him. So I would not be surprised that the unveiling of her effigy will make him really nervous, especially if the theme of the statue itself is Diana sort of taking care of 3 children. You might think, well, Harry is a grown man, he should not be reacting like this, and you'll be right. This reaction is going to be translated as not respectful at all. But my point, what I really want you to consider is that when you're reading human behavior, it's not enough to look at the body language or external signals. If you're aware even of a tiny bit of the context or emotional state of the person or their traumas, you can have a better understanding of the reactions. I'm not saying that Harry's reaction is okay, but at least we know where does it come from. Harry tries desperately to draw both William and Lady Sarah's attention, but they really don't pay any to him. Especially Lady Sarah, who barely turns her head towards Harry's direction before walking around William to the other side. These are the kind of signals that even if you don't know the background story, you can still get how Lady Sarah feels about Harry. And he notices it because he immediately crosses his leg and touches his wedding ring again. And that is not the last time he touches his wedding ring. He does it a third time just 10 seconds later. By the way, if you want to level up your skills in body language and be able to interpret all these clues, you can get my body language book right in the description of this video. As for William, since the unveiling, he has barely acknowledged Harry's presence. He made a full step away from him, and at times he even turns around and shows his back to Harry. And this is when you make a distinction between behaving accordingly to the moment, to the unveiling of the statue, and on the other hand expressly trying to avoid eye contact with his brother. Again, even if you don't know what is going on between them, you will still have the hunch that William doesn't want to be around Harry at that moment. It's like when they were talking to sculptor Ian Rank Broadley. Harry was visibly nervous and a bit childish. Although I've read people in social media arguing that he didn't know how to behave, I think I prefer watching Harry like this, being a bit foolish and even excited. You know how rare have been this kind of moments in recent years. William is by known of it, and besides standing a bit closer to the sculptor than to his brother, his head is tilting a bit away from Harry. Maybe you've noticed that his right arm, or the arm closer to Harry, has been flexed at many instances after the unveiling. But William had his arm like that as they were entering the garden, and Harry was on his other side, so we can discard that subtle barrier as maybe part of William's body baseline or common body language traits. But Harry, he's so nervous that he touches his wedding ring a fifth time, and in this occasion, he literally grabs hold of it for almost 30 seconds. I don't know if Harry was thinking, maybe if I rub it enough, it will eventually disappear. And he means it because there's a sixth and then a seventh touch after that. Could Harry be thinking of Meghan at that moment? I think it's highly likely, since one of the most relevant parts of their interview with Oprah was the fact that Harry was watching the story of his mother's struggles happening again but with Meghan. And before you jump and say that there's no comparison between them, I'm not talking about the comparison itself, but the way Harry is processing the event. It sparks a lot of anxiety on him, and he tries to bend by touching and twisting his wedding ring. There is an obvious connection between how Harry feels about his mother and how he feels about Meghan. I think we don't gain anything from judging him about that, but instead use it as learning about human behavior. That will be a better approach. There are more defensive signals on Harry's attitude. For example, when they are walking with mustache messy, he touches his tie and hides his thumb again for a few seconds, an eighth wedding ring touch, and finally they stop by to chat. He covers his belly again, ninth wedding ring touch, and assumes the same posture of a few minutes before, standing with his elbows out, trying to be noticed again. I don't know, I look at Harry doing that posture and he looked just like a character from a crime scene investigation drama. So, what we got here today, Jonathan? Anyway, there are enough body language signals to notice that William was not comfortable being around Harry, and beyond the fact that he was trying to be respectful for the unveiling of her mother's statue, he barely acknowledged his brother and sometimes even stepped away from him. We didn't get to hear them talk, but that was not necessary. Their body language spoke the state of their current relationship and the fact that Harry still hasn't been able to overcome both the loss of his mother and at the same time the tension produced by the decision he made. It doesn't make any easier for them to connect. Next time you see them or any other two people, make sure to keep these signals in mind. I'm sure it will be interesting. I've got more videos that will help you understand human behavior and level up your skills on body language. And don't forget to subscribe if you don't want to miss any of my body language analysis and tips. Take care, my body language buddies.